All right, so you probably just got done watching my little time-lapse video of connecting all these pieces together. Now, I score and slipped each one of these on. I score and slipped this one on. And then the next step is going to be to smooth that in, just like we did with the pieces on top, the coils and the little balls and all that kind of stuff. Now, there's something a little bit different when you add a piece that is flat onto a flat surface here, okay? And you'll notice that as I'm dragging the clay down, okay, I'm actually pulling about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch down into the surface of my bowl, all right? And in this case, what's happening is it's also creating a nice little dent on the inside of that. Now, we're gonna also smooth the clay back into it from the bowl, but as you can see, I've got all kinds of little tool marks that go along here. Or maybe you can't. Let's see if we get this closer. So you can see those tool marks, okay, the ones I'm talking about are right here, okay? So we're gonna try and get rid of those in just a second. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish up this side, make sure everything is very well connected, okay? And then we're there. Now, the other thing that you may notice, okay, and I'll try to hold this up, is I used a paddle, and the paddle was used to flatten out the bottom of these. This is what is going to be the foot, okay, so it's gonna sit like this, so it needs to be perfectly flat. As you'll notice, when I attached and I bent this, it made this little bit of a curve. So what I can do, and what I was doing with the paddle, is I start on this side, okay, because I want this to be a little bit more vertical as well anyway, and you can see how it kind of tilts out to the side. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the paddle to tap and make that a little bit more vertical. Notice how that got a little bit more vertical compared to the sidewall. Now, the other thing is, I still have this rounded surface here. What I can do is I can use that pinch technique that we did on the very first part of this. And notice that when I pinch it, and as I work my way up, it stretches and that's gotten flatter. Then I can take my paddle, flatten it out a little bit more that way, and that's gonna give me a nice flat surface this way. And if I want to, I can come back in and I can even flatten that out a little bit more, flatten that out, and then just make sure everything is nice and straight, okay? And that way, I don't have to remove any clay or anything like that, okay? And now I've got nice, straight, square, vertical attachments for the feet. Now, the problem I have here is I've got all these little tool marks and everything like that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a little piece of wet clay, I'm gonna take and I'm gonna create a really, really thin coil. All right, now this one I am pushing down pretty hard, but again, I am trying to get that to roll as much as possible, okay? And what I'm gonna do, and you can, if you want, you can add a little bit of water there, you could even score and slip. Is it necessary? I don't think so, okay? But I'm gonna add a little bit of water in there, okay? The scoring, not that critical. And then I'm gonna take my coil and I'm gonna set this down into all those little grooves, okay? Just like so. And I'm gonna repeat that, obviously, for the other side, okay? And this is just for good measure, okay? Definitely wanna put a little bit of water in there because the surface of my bowl is pretty firm, okay? So now I've got these two little coils on the side. We still don't want it to look like that all the time, so I'm going to grab a different modeling tool, and I'll show you a couple of different ones that I have that have different shapes to them. Okay. There's this one. There's this one that's got a couple of different bends to it. This one I really like because you've got the nice flat, sharp edge there, but on the opposite end, you've got a nice rounded surface. And then this one is a little bit thicker, okay, but it's got a round side and a flat side also. Now these come in super, super handy, and I'm gonna show you why. I'm gonna go ahead and use this one just because it's about the shape that I want. Notice that when I press this here, okay, I don't know if you guys can see that, maybe if I turn it this way, the angles of it will create that nice 90-degree angle that I'm looking for. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna smooth this into, and a lot of this stuff's gonna get scraped away, but that's okay, okay? But what I'm trying to do is smooth so that that transition from my foot, okay, this little triangular shaped piece, to the side of the bowl is nice and smooth and clean, okay? And if I can do that, again, this goes back to that favorite thing of mine. I want to make it look like it was never more than one piece of clay. Now I've got a little bit of a wrinkle here where it kind of folded over on itself. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. I'm trying to get the angle right. There you go. This thing right here. That I'm gonna have to smooth out with something with a little bit larger blade. Okay, so therefore I can use that and smooth that in so that now I get rid of all those little tool marks. Okay, and it looks like it was never more than one piece of clay, and it's nice and clean. Okay, again, this goes to that craftsmanship grade. This goes to those 70 points, okay, out of 150. Almost 50% of your grade is how clean, smooth, neat, tidy, whatever you want, whatever adjective you want to use to describe it, can you make it perfectly clean? Now again, I talked about using tools that, you know, as long as you get the results you want. I'm going to use the end of the ruler so that I can get that to become nice and flat and clean, like so. Come back with my paddle, make sure that that stays nice and flat. Okay. And then if I want, I can even come back in with my paintbrush and really make it smooth. What I'm doing is I'm using this as kind of like a little putty knife to flatten that all out. So that's nice and perfectly clean. So you can see the difference of that versus that. Okay? So I'm not gonna bore you with doing this on all of them, but I'm gonna go around and do that. This is gonna be a little bit time consuming, so watch the time lapse of me doing this, and then we'll talk about finishing this one up.